Welcome to the latest episode of the Real World Nutrition Podcast. This is episode 150, Mastering the Grocery Store, Smart Shopping Tips for Efficient and Healthy Grocery Runs. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Real World Nutrition Podcast, where I bring you the science of nutrition and help you apply it to everyday life, as well as helping you navigate your food choices with confidence. I'm Shelley, your host and the founder of Real World Nutrition and a registered dietitian nutritionist. So today is kicking off a brand new series designed to help you in one of the most common yet potentially overwhelming tasks that we face, grocery shopping. So as I start with the beginning of this Mastering the Grocery Store series, I'll break down things from the various aisles of the grocery store so you can become a savvy, efficient, and informed shopper. So whether you find grocery shopping a dreaded chore or you love the venturing out into finding new things, whichever one you identify with, this series will be for you. Personally, I am not somebody who enjoys cruising the grocery store unless it was a ghost town. So if there's other people around, I tend to just be hyper focused and not do much browsing or perusing. But I find that there are some great things to check out in the grocery store. I just don't like hanging out there. So in this first episode of this series here, I'm going to lay the groundwork by addressing the typical layout of grocery stores. So of course they're all different. Sharing some general tips for efficient navigation and debunking some popular myths about shopping the perimeter and giving you some actionable advice on making a shopping list and planning meals. So this episode is going to be pretty dense and is an overview of the grocery store. And in subsequent episodes, I'm going to address the various aisles and sections of the grocery store a little bit deeper. So I want to start by addressing the layout of most grocery stores. Now, even if you shop the same chain, the layout will be different at different locations. So I'm talking very much in generalities. But knowing the layout is critical because it can help you move through the store more efficiently and with less stress. So typically grocery stores are designed with a specific flow in mind. So there's going to be a similar structure here. So let me outline some of these 4 areas. Number 1, the perimeter. In general, you'll find the fresh produce, you'll find dairy and meat and seafood. And these items are placed around the edges so you can have fresh and the perishable goods. You can get those pretty much early in your shopping trip, although it doesn't really matter when you do it. Actually, I would recommend you do it towards the end, but I'll get to that at another time. And then we've got the aisles. The second area that we'll be focusing on is the aisles. And the inner aisles are usually stocked with packaged and non-perishable items, including canned goods, cereals, snacks, baking supplies, beverages of different types. The third area would be the front and the back. Again, general here. The front of the store often has those impulse buys, promotional items, while the back has the essentials of the various dairy products, meat, encouraging you to walk through the entire store. Yet at the same time, part of the reason that is back there is because it's often restocked, and that's where the trucks come in. So it's less travel through the grocery store to shelve it. And then the 4th section will be the end caps, the displays at the ends of the aisles that feature sales or popular items to catch your eye, maybe promotional items, even if it's not on sale. So, just addressing this structure can help you plan your route and avoid unnecessary backtracking. I tend to find it funny, in the rare occasion I am in the grocery store, I can see the same person go back and forth in the center aisle multiple times because they're looking for something. Not that I haven't done that, but it's more of to help reduce the time that you're in the grocery store, may reduce those impulse buys. All right, so let's talk about navigating the store more efficiently. And I'm going on this assumption you're going in the grocery store. I'm a person, I've said this many times on the podcast, I do curbside pickup still, but it's still once in a while I do find where I have to go into the store. So let me give you some general tips that can help you save time, reduce stress, and help you stick to your shopping list. So first thing here, if you can, go at off-peak times. So shopping during off-peak hours, like early mornings or later evenings, can make the experience quicker and more pleasant because there's usually fewer customers in the store. However, a couple caveats with that. If you go early in the morning, they may still be restocking shelves overnight. So in the past, when I've done super early morning grocery shopping, I have to navigate boxes and racks of food and employees restocking the shelves. So hardly any customers, but it still makes navigating the store a little bit more challenging. And then if you go later in the evening, they may not have restocked things, so there may be things that are out or not shelved yet, which they'll be doing overnight. But I find that going at off-peak times, Costco is one of my stores that I go to on a regular basis every other week, and I find going at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning works for me, and it happens to work for me because I visit a client at 9 o'clock on Tuesday mornings. I'm done at 11 o'clock, and then I can drive home, put my stuff away, and be on to my next work project. All right, number 2, stick to your list. So a well-prepared shopping list can help keep you focused and minimize those impulse purchases. And I'll talk more about lists and menu planning here in just a minute. But as much as possible, stick to the list. And of course, if there's something you need, buy it, even if it's not on the list. But really making sure you stay focused helps with having impulse purchases and more cost. Here's the third tip I have for you is to group items by section. So organize your shopping list by section. So put all your produce, your fruits and veggies in the same part of your list. Put your dairy on the same part of the list. Put your canned goods in the same part of the list. And this can minimize backtracking. So grouping things like that is really helpful because that way you're not like, oh, I got milk, but I also was supposed to get yogurt and cheese and this specific cheese. And if it's not grouped, you may find yourself having to go back. Number 4, know the store layout. So I really recommend familiarizing yourself with the layout of your preferred grocery store to reduce the time spent searching for items. So years ago, when we moved and I started at a new grocery store, I just walked in, no list in mind, and really it was a 10-15 minute trip where I walked through and just wrote down, this is back before our phones had apps, probably before we had phones, and I just wrote down where the various things were, which aisles, so I had a map of the store. Nowadays, you can probably get a map, or even if I'm at a Target, for example, and I can't find something, I go into the app and it'll tell me exactly which aisle it is in. Now, that's not necessarily grocery shopping, but still, sometimes the apps will tell you where the item you're looking for, what aisle it is in. So again, knowing the layout is going to help. One time, my husband had to do the grocery shopping while I was out of town. And he was like, wow, everything was in order the way I walked into the store. So like the first thing on the list was the first aisle he encountered and it went in order. And he's like, wow, that's pretty remarkable. I'm like, it's deliberate. It's intentional. So number 5, this is the part where I said earlier, let's start with the non-perishables. So a lot of times people start with the perimeter, start with the produce and the dairy and the meat, and then go into the aisles. But I recommend, it may not be intuitive, starting with the non-perishable items or the aisles, and then work to the fresh and frozen items. So that way they're not sitting in the cart. And then number 6, avoid or at least try to minimize impulse buys. By sticking to your list, you can avoid or minimize those unnecessary purchases that can make your grocery bill cost more. And it can also derail any nutrition goals you may have. Now, I do want to debunk this myth. The idea of shopping the perimeter of the store is always the best strategy for finding healthy foods. While it's true that in most stores, the produce, meats, and dairy products are on the perimeter, there's a little bit more nuance involved here. The inner aisles have plenty of nutritious items, including whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, healthy oils. There's just so much on those aisles that had this idea of shopping the perimeter would overlook so many of that. A balanced diet includes a variety of foods from all sections of the store. So it's essential not to overlook the aisles. And then, of course, don't forget, think about the perimeter of your grocery store. It can have processed convenience foods like deli items, the deli, the bakery, and depending on your state and store, the alcohol section could also be there. So I know in some stores I walk into, bakery, 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 bakery. There's plenty of foods that are not the healthiest choices. So sticking strictly to the perimeter is not an advice that I recommend, despite many people saying it. You may hear people saying it a lot. But really shop mindfully through the store and focus on the minimally processed foods. And then lastly, for this first section or first part of this grocery store series, I want to discuss how to create an effective shopping list and plan your meals. And these are crucial steps in making your grocery shopping more efficient and ensuring you have everything you need for nutritious meals. All right, so first thing, meal planning. So set a weekly menu. Plan your weekly meals. Consider breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. So you don't necessarily need to plan breakfast and lunch and snacks, but consider that what you would need or want for that. And then check your inventory. Check what you have in your fridge, your freezer, your pantry. Before making your list, do that and then consult your list and your pantry and fridge and freezer while making your list so you don't buy duplicates. And then have variety. Ensure your menu includes a variety of proteins, a variety of vegetables, grains, and healthy fats. And then number 2 in this step here, this section, make a shopping list. So as I said already, as you make your shopping list, my shopping list back in the old days used to have a couple drafts. So while I was making the menu plan, I would write down every single thing I needed. And then I'd consult the pantry and the fridge and the freezer to see what I needed to cross off that list. And then I'd rewrite it and categorize the items, group them by the category that I mentioned already. The produce, the dairy, the grains, or like I said, back in the old days, I had them listed by aisle. And then you can check out apps or templates. So there's shopping list apps. I personally just use my Notes app. So I have a Notes app where I have Costco and I list the things that I need as I go through my week. I have my regular grocery store. Then I use that app and put stuff in the cart throughout the week. I have my Target list. I have my different stores that I go to because I'm not going there constantly, but just keep a running list. But these apps where you can make your own template to organize your list and then modify it for what works best for you. So acknowledge the app or the curbside pickup is not for everybody. The notes, I use my notes app on my phone all the time. And then I have people who say, oh, I always forget about that app. My whole life is in my notes app, really. So, and then again, stick to your list. Commit to buying only what's on your list unless you find a necessary and healthy item on sale. And then number 3, budgeting and portion control. So as people are constantly talking about the price of food, and I've mentioned this in the past, I work with individuals who have SNAP benefits and they only get about $85 per week. And they really have to be mindful of their grocery budget. So set the budget, determine the essential items that are needed. So ice cream or snacks may not be needed, but buying the frozen vegetables can be prioritized. And then plan for leftovers. Include meals that you can have more than once, so you can make a larger portion so you can have lunch the next day or a second dinner later in the week, and that can reduce waste. So again, plan for those leftovers. When you're making your meal plan, you can have a certain day of the week to make sure you've eaten all the leftovers. All right, so as I'm wrapping up this first episode in this series, Mastering the Grocery Store does understand, or start, I should say, start with understanding the layout of your store, navigating it efficiently, and making a solid plan, and ignoring those myths that persist of shopping the perimeter. And I want to emphasize this too, is that you don't need to go to a specialty food store to buy your food unless it just happens that your regular grocery store doesn't carry those items. So by following the tips, you're going to be on your way to being an efficient shopper, making some healthier choices. Now, next up in the series, I'm going to talk about the various sections, and it's going to be a multi-part series. I'm not going to cover the entirety of the grocery store in one episode, but I'll be breaking it down into several episodes addressing the different sections of the grocery store and giving more details on making the best choices there for your health and wellness. All right, everyone, that wraps up this episode 150 of the Real World Nutrition Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to continue hearing about this series, I'd recommend you subscribe or follow this podcast. It drops every Friday, and share it with somebody you think might benefit from it. Until next time, take care and bye for now.